is. That's a
Look
good
out.
sign. I think
We're on the internet now. It can't be taken down.
Right.
yeah, I think we're live on the interwebs. Ladies and gents, welcome to Naked Passion Podcast. Got an extremely legendary guest coming on, Australian comedy royalty, an icon. Chris Franklin joins us today. Chris, thanks for joining us, mate.
How you going? Well, you might think an Australian comedy icon, but as you just saw at the start of the stream, not very tech savvy. Hang on, someone's just come up on my screen. Oh, we're going live.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect. No, unreal. Mate, as we touched on before, mate, it's a pretty open format. So you can sort of take it where you like. I guess the first question for me, mate, that comes to mind is when did you sort of realise that you're a funny bastard?
Probably my third suspension in primary school.
What grade? What grade was that?
I can't remember. I didn't go to many, so. No, I think if you ask most of the comedians, they were the troublesome child in the class, always in trouble with the teacher or whatever, and it's generally because we had a few brains about us and we were bored.
Yeah. Fair enough. So you just mentioned you're just finishing a stint at the Melbourne Comedy Festival. How'd you find that? Do you get to sort of you get to tour with some of your mates, I guess, and sort of catch up after shows?
Most definitely, mate. There's probably 600 shows a night in different places around Melbourne, so there's a lot of us here. And outside of the festivals, we might have started out together as open mic comics, but as we progressed to headliners, we never see each other because I only ever have one headliner on a show. So I'd be off doing one tour and a mate would be somewhere else in the country doing another tour. So at the festivals, we all end up in showcase shows, and we've got a month of just, we can catch up for lunch or end up on a bill together doing a show or just getting drunk of a night somewhere. And so it's a good time for catching up with mates. In fact, the 1 hour of show we have to do every day during a festival becomes an interruption to our festival.
Yeah, fair enough.
Was there anyone at the festival this year, Chris, that you were really keen to go and see yourself?
I'm not one for going out to see other acts. I get enough of seeing them in the 5 minutes of a showcase show that I might be part of or whatever. After 25 years of doing it, I'm cautious enough. There's times where you could lock yourself into an hour of comedy with someone and just wish you weren't there 5 minutes into it. So I generally won't commit to a whole hour of someone. So I don't go and see a lot of shows during the festival. I'll catch up with the guys on shows that I'm on.
Yeah, okay. Did you have any sort of idols in the comedy space when you were growing up? Like, who was the person that you kind of looked at, or the guys that you looked at that was like, wow, they're just the most funny humans I've ever heard of and seen?
It's a different generation for me. I'm almost 60 now. So growing up as a young kid, Dad was in the Navy and he'd be away for a month at a time at sea. While he was away, my mother would let me sit up and watch Monty Python TV shows and things. And when Dad was home, we'd be down in the shed listening to Bordy Col Elliott cassettes. So, as a family together, we'd go into town and at Festival Hall in Melbourne and see people like Des O'Connor and the old English and Irish guys, Dave Allen, when they'd tour and saw live things. So I had a lot of comedy in my life growing up. When I started doing comedy as an open micer, the king of Melbourne comedy back then was Pommy Johnson. So, he became a great mate and still one of the best I've seen.
Yeah, nice. That was my next question. Who was probably the best? But Pommy Johnson.
I've got a bit of a weird one, and I don't know if it's appropriate for a live stream, mate. But what's the loosest thing you've ever happened to you at an open mic night, like while you're on stage?
The loosest thing, the weirdest one was I don't know, I can't remember the name of the pub in Footscray back in the 80s. Bit rougher Footscray than it is now. And there was no one in the room that we were doing the show in. There was a double doors at the end of the room that opened into the main bar, which had a big island bar in the middle of it. And there was two old blokes sitting at the island bar right in view through the open door. They were like the old blokes from the Muppets. And the stage was just a couple of milk crates with a board on it, and the spotlight was a veranda light. And I got up and I'd spoken for about 30 seconds into my 5-minute spot. One of these blokes in the other room at the bar turned around and went, "Mate, would you shut up? Race 8's on."
I guess once you cop that kind of flack, mate, everything else is pretty easy after that, right?
Oh, yeah. Laugh that off. Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah.
Mate, I read. Go on, Jake. Jump in, mate.
No, just do you get many hecklers these days, mate, or they kind of learn their lesson not to sort of mess with you while you're on stage doing your thing?
I think people in general heckle less now. It's not so much because it's me, but comedy clubs all over the place now, I think, have less hecklers. I don't know if it's part of that, political correct movement that's going on, which sort of confines what we can say as well. But there's always going to be someone at a late night show that's drunk and can't help themselves and will call out, but I've always got something loaded ready for them. The hardest ones to stop talking are the drunk women, because the way we stop them talking is to put them down, and drunk women don't like to be put down, and they'll fire up again from it. So it's a complicated theory to try and stop a drunk woman from heckling.
What's one of the does anything come to mind? Have you got a joke you heard someone say that you're like, shit, it would have been great to write that one?
Oh, there's a million of them, but I nothing that you put me on the spot to come out with.
Yeah.
At least every night you'll hear someone say a joke and you go, "Oh, that's so obvious. Why didn't we come up with that?"
Yeah.
But I'd like to think that while I'm up there's other comedians saying that about the stuff I've written as well.
Yeah. I caught you live down in Melbourne a couple of months ago now. It was just an open mic. It just happened to sort of walk in, so I was pretty stoked that it was yourself up there, and you said I don't know whether you'd call it a simple joke or whatnot, but it caught me, and I thought it was bloody hilarious. It was the one where you said you hooked up with your cousin and she was a bit freaked out because you got that one. Do you want to deliver it, mate? Because I'm probably going to butcher it.
I'm going to do a much better job than you did.
Yeah. Shit house, mate.
Not used to hearing that, Chris. Usually everyone at work kisses his ass and says, "Oh, you're the greatest person ever, Nathan. You're so brilliant." So this is great for me, sitting back and just watching you shredding.
I've never heard someone butcher that joke so much, even without playing it.
I'm just warming up too. This could go anywhere.
So for all those playing at home, the joke goes, my new girlfriend's from Tasmania, and she's a wonderful woman. She said, if we ever split up, we can still be cousins. So you laugh at that, but she is actually my second cousin. I'm her first.
Jason Howman, that's fun for you, mate. He's a Tassie boy, and he likes to pull out the cousin jokes quite often at a pub. So I'm sure he'll get a kick out of watching that.
Oh, he'll jump straight on that. Have you been to Tassie, Jake?
No, I haven't. I've never graced the apple, mate. Never.
Don't go down there, guys. It's horrible. It's horrible. Don't go down there. Whatever you do, don't go down there.
Ah, gotcha. Keeping the tourists away. Fair enough too. Heard it's stunning. We've got a couple of mates that come from there. They can't stop raving about it. So I like to head down there.
Yeah, but, that's why we tell everyone it's horrible, because when you get there, you realise how bloody lovely it is, and you end up buying houses and pushing the market up.
Yeah, well, that's the next thing at the moment, isn't it? So speaking of which, how often do you get to sort of, I guess, enjoy your time in the homeland?
Getting older, I sort of plan the tours a bit shorter now. So I try, apart from festival time, I'll try and only be away for 10 days at a time and try and spend the equivalent amount of time at home that I was away. But this festival was 31 days long, but Michelle, my partner, came over for 4 days in the middle of it. So it only made it sort of two-week periods where we hadn't seen each other, which is close to the 10 days anyway. So
yeah, that's unreal. Yeah, okay. So Chris, not only are you one of the funniest ones going around Australia, you're also a musician in your own right as well.
Yeah, you obviously haven't heard the songs. Can't sing or play a note, mate. I just get lucky with some lyrics, that's all.
The thing that sticks out for me, I can't remember how old I was, Chris. I'm 33 now, but I can remember when Bloke sort of first come out, and
you were 11.
everyone was sort of sharing it around, and everyone had it on their phone downloaded as like an MP3 file, or like, have you heard this song? It's bloody hilarious. It's a piss take on this and that and everything else. And I just think it's one of those really sort of special times where this little thing just pops up and it just goes absolutely bananas. And it's kind of an internet fad. It had that kind of feel before the internet was really a massive thing. And you have people doing bloody TikTok dances and that kind of stuff now, where they'll go viral and get 1 million views overnight. But it was kind of that before. That was kind of the in thing now, if that makes sense. So I can remember that just being played over and over again, and just people cackling like whenever they heard it. So that brings back pretty good memories for me. How'd that sort of start? How'd that come about?
There's a comedian before I was doing comedy. There was the Pommy Johnson that I mentioned earlier. He was a musical comedian, had a guitar on stage, and he said to me, "I've got an idea for a song. I either want to do the song Bitch, but write it about Pauline Hanson, or the song called Bloke and do the male response to the bitch song." So I went round to his house one afternoon and I wrote both the songs for him. And he ended up using the Pauline Hanson version on stage. And then I started doing stand-up and I said, "Do you mind if I do that Bloke song?" And he said, "You wrote it, go for it." So, yeah, he picked the wrong song, basically.
You rolled the die, flip a coin, come at the wrong one. How did that how does that sort of come about, mate? I imagine there's some sort of legal thing with the rights and that sort of stuff. Was that an easy sort of I guess conversation to be had, or was there a bit more to it?
I was pretty lucky where just doing a small part as a parody on stage you're allowed to do, and through doing that, someone at EMI wanted to record it, major record company in Australia. So once they want to do it, they'll get all the paperwork sorted out pretty quick. So I didn't have to worry about any of that side of it, really. They got all the legalities out of the way because they really wanted to release the song. So
yeah, no, that's perfect.
I couldn't see what they saw in it, but they obviously knew what they were doing because it went to #1. So
yeah, you had another pretty viral hit, mate, not too long ago, pretty fresh, called "Stay the Fuck at Home." Talk us through that one.
That started out as a poem, just out of frustration, right at the start of COVID. In Tassie, I'm assuming it was the same everywhere at the start of COVID. They were saying, "Look, stay in your houses, only go to the supermarket if you need to." And remember, everyone was grabbing all the toilet paper and all the stupid things were happening, and people bitching because the gym was shut, like that was important. I've never been to a gym in my life and I'm still alive. But it was just the frustration of people going, "Oh, this is ridiculous, I'm going to go out," and for stupid reasons. So I wrote it as a poem, and I was going to put it on Facebook. I was just reading it as a poem on Facebook, and in the last verse I said, "This could be a song," and I sung the last verse. Through that, a fella in America, Robert Emmett Kelly, did it as a song, slightly different to the one that we released. And I convinced myself by saying this could be a song that we should do it. And I knew that every musician mate of mine in Australia was locked in their house and had nothing to do, so that they were going to answer their phone. And yeah, we rounded them all up and put it together as what it was. The boys from Hype Duo in Sydney edited the clip all together and mixed the sound. Everyone recorded as best they could on their phones or whatever device they had. So a lot of them had some good recording equipment at home. And the rest is history, as they say. Yeah.
Turned out a treat, mate. Viral everywhere. Have you put much thought to, I guess, putting together another album?
Nah. I released 3 singles, 2 after Bloke that went nowhere, and the radio stations wouldn't play them. I think they just worked out that I can't actually fucking sing. So I'm happy not to bring songs out. But then when Stay the Fuck at Home came out and went stupid, you don't have to press an album anymore. It's not vinyl or CD or whatever. So it was very easy just to get the catalogue of songs together and put it out as a Spotify album. That was pretty easy. So happy with that. But I've got no intention of, or no misconceptions that I'm actually a singer or a musician. I'm a stand-up comedian who got lucky with a couple of songs.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think there's a few musicians, mate, that'd kill to have at least one number one. Mate, so I think you're doing yourself a touch short there, but it's good to be your own harshest critic, I guess.
Yeah, I think the number one thing came about just because it was a bit of comedy at the right time, you know, and the piss take on the original and all of that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And for some reason, up until then, Australia seemed to want to have a comedy song at number one every 10 years, and that 10-year span had fallen in. 10 years before me was Australiana, Ostentatious, and 10 years before that was Joe Dolce, Shut Up Your Face. So sort of went in 10-year cycles up until Bloke, but no one did anything in 2010. But I got it again in 2020 with Stay the Fuck at Home.
Brilliant. So no prizes for guessing when your next single's coming out then?
I got 8 years to ride on. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
You're but to your point, mate, the film clip, it's the who's who of Australian bloody music. You had everyone in there. It was unreal. I had no idea, obviously, but it was awesome.
I was pretty lucky where through my career and through the song, I'm one of the few comedians that could tour and open for rock bands. So I've done tours with the Screaming Jets. I've done tours with Rose Tattoo. I've done tours with the Angels. Angry and I worked together on Fat Pizza and Houseos acting. Bloke was number one in the charts when Killing Heidi's album Reflector was number one in the charts. So myself and the band Killing Heidi became really good friends back in those days. And Russell Morris I've known for years and worked at blues festivals with. Who else have we got in there? A great mate of mine, Phil Emanuel, passed away from an asthma attack, and we had a benefit concert for him, and I met all the other musicians that were there, Chris Gilbert playing bass, or you know, the drummers that were there, and met all those guys. John Paul Young's son, Danny Young, sings the last verse. I met him at that Phil Emanuel concert as well. And as I said, it was right at the start of COVID. Everyone was locked in their houses, so all I had to do was ring them.
You knew they weren't doing anything.
Oh yeah, and chomping at the bit to be able to do something as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's funny though. The files were so big, we had to use Dropbox to get them all in the one place. And I'm 58. Angry's probably 65 now, and he kept bringing me back going, "What's this fucking letterbox thing I got to do?" And it was frustrating. Dave Gleason put all the files in there, and then thought that that's all he had to do, and then went to delete his files and almost deleted the whole song before we got it mixed. So
wow.
I'm sending him texts going, "Do you fucking hate me? What have I done wrong? Like what have I done to you? Why are you doing this to me?" He's going, "Oh shit, sorry, mate."
He's an interesting guy, Dave Gleason. I quite often on a Wednesday night I'll be heading home from basketball doing some stupid thing, and he's on Triple M just telling stories in between sort of rock music songs, and some of the stories he tells is unreal. So I can only imagine the stuff he tells that's not on publicly aired radio. That's he's seen and done in these days.
There's probably only 10% of his stories that are suitable for radio.
Yeah.
We were at the Adelaide Fringe before the Melbourne Comedy Festival, and I had an Airbnb in the city in a high rise. And Dave was about to go touring with the Angels. He lives up in the Adelaide Hills, but his daughter had got COVID, so he had to move out of the house and isolate in a hotel away from his family so that he was still able to do the tour. So worked out perfect for us because we had about a week of just being on the piss with him in Adelaide because he was sitting in a hotel room bored shitless.
Little vacay away from the family before you go on tour.
Oh, that's it. He's telling the wife and kids, I've got to isolate so that I can go on this tour, and he's just out on the piss with us.
Who's one of the wildest ones on the scene?
Rock music or comedy?
We'll do both. We got time.
Oh, I don't want to put people in.
No, fair enough.
Who have you had the yeah?
Not so much.
Who have you had the most fun with?
Yeah, good question.
let's rephrase it. Who have you had the most fun with?
Rob Riley, I would have to say. Rob plays slide guitar, or did with Rose Tattoo. He plays on Stay the Fuck at Home. And these days he doesn't travel that much. He lives just out of Adelaide. And whenever I'm over there, we'll go out. He's got a work shed out the back where he restores old Fords and motorbikes, and the other half it's a sound studio. And we'll just sit out there all afternoon. He'll have a few smokes, and we'll both have a few green cans. And come 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, he'll go, right, you got to go home now. I'm going to bed. And that's it. Back in the day, it was a lot different to that. But yeah, it's really good to catch up with old mates like that, though.
Yeah, it was an 8 p.m. finish time.
Yeah,
back in the day. Yeah,
yeah,
more like.
I think that's or just never. I think that's something that going through COVID and that people have realised it's really important. To have that sort of time with your mates, just being able to hang out. I think everyone was kind of taking that for granted before COVID hit. And I know myself, that was sort of the big thing that I missed, was just the ability to ring someone up and go, hey, I'm coming around for a few beers, let's hang out. That was just taken away overnight. So, I think that's important that you do that with your friends, and it's good to see that you're still kicking on with some old mates from back in the day.
Oh yeah, I go back a lot further than that. So all these guys are from 25 years of entertaining, but Anzac Day yesterday, I'm catching up with mates from 40 years ago in the Navy, and we still all catch up. So yeah, I've got a lot of friends from a lot of different lives I've lived.
You were you sort of, how did COVID interrupt? Like, were you sort of touring overseas pre-COVID at all? What was the setup there?
Yeah, every year pre-COVID, for the couple of years before COVID, I'd spend a month in Canada touring around the Western provinces there, and that all shut down for 2 years. And then we opened up in January, so I took straight back off over there in January, which was a bit of a shock, because we normally go in August, September, and it's autumn then. Might be a little bit of light snowfall and about 10 degrees. We got off the plane at Vancouver in the middle of January. It's the middle of winter. It was minus 27 degrees.
Jesus.
Yeah. I said to my missus, I'm going to have to get another pair of thongs. Had a hole in the other ones.
Yeah.
I can't do the cold. Can't do it. I lived in the UK for a couple of years. I tell everyone 3. It was only about 2.5. But the good news about there, and I'm sure Canada's the same, but I just spent the whole winter inside. Had the radiator up to 24 degrees. It was almost like it was an English summer. It was perfect.
We were travelling through the Rockies. We had the heater on in the car, but the temperature gauge on the front, digital temperature gauge on the front, still saying minus 19. My missus is scraping ice off the inside of the windows with a credit card.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a bit
much for me.
Yeah, no, I'm out.
So what's happening at the moment, Chris? What do you reckon? What's the most exciting thing sort of happening in your world at the moment?
Heading back over the west next week, getting home to see the missus. We've just bought a new car because I had a very lucrative COVID year last year, and she's picking that up next Friday, so she'll have it for a week before I get home. I'm just hoping she doesn't crash it before I get there. So,
what are you getting? What's the new wheels?
Kia Cerato GT Sport turbocharged.
Oh,
yeah. That's a bit of fun.
Red one, so it goes a bit faster too.
What's you've had a lot of wins in your life, obviously, mate. What sort of stands out as maybe the highlight or the pinnacle so far?
Career-wise, very exciting. Singing Bloke in the middle of the MCG to 60,000 people. That was a bit of a buzz. Travelling to the Middle East on 3 different occasions, performing for the troops. One time over Christmas, spending Christmas with the Aussie troops in the Middle East. That was a real buzz for me. This is going to sound wanky. Meeting my missus 8 years ago and her getting me to pull my head in and sort my life out, so I'm still here alive, able to talk to you guys. Yeah, she did a good job. They're probably 3 of the highlights. I suppose. Yeah, somewhere down the list, the kids being born.
Don't tell me that, Chris. Don't tell me that.
Jake's got one on the way.
I've got 9 grandkids at the moment.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's funny.
Give us the goss. Give us the goss, Chris. Who's the favourite? Spill it.
Yeah, live on the internet. Yeah, it's funny when your daughter has their first little girl, and you go, "Oh, my little princess has had a little princess of her own." When she's had 3 and she's 24, you're going, "You're just like your fucking mother, aren't you?"
Yeah,
that's an expensive Christmas, Chris, all those grandkids.
We've got a rule. I don't buy for any of my kids that have got kids, so that all goes to the grandkids. And birthdays, because they're individual, they get $50, and Christmas, because they've all got to get it at once, it's $20 each. So we put aside $70, so it's $700 for the year for the grandkids.
Yeah.
Bargain.
Yeah.
I feel sorry for my parents and my partner's parents, because they're only going to have 1 grandkid, so that means that kid's going to get.
Because they're going to spoil it rotten.
Yeah. Well, hopefully I'll hopefully get your details, mate. I'll just call you up for some advice. How do I stop that shit from happening?
Yeah, come down to Tassie. We'll sit in a pub and give you advice while they're sorting out all the shit. That's the advice I give you. Go down the pub.
Perfect. I'll tell the missus that when I've got to get out of the house. Just like Chris Franklin told me, I've got to go to the pub.
I raised all my kids in the state.
Nice.
Long distance education, mate.
It's easy now. They got Zoom.
They know how to work it better than me too.
Well, yeah, true.
Yeah.
Very true. They put me on mute pretty quickly, I reckon. Mate, I saw. I got a question. I saw you're on both the footy shows. Have you got a preference code out of the 2?
Oh, not really. I'm a North Melbourne supporter in the AFL and a Melbourne Storm supporter in the league. So I guess because of the way the teams are going, I'm leaning towards league this year.
Yeah.
That's in terms of the shows, I think I prefer the league footy show.
Yeah.
They had me on live with the Radiators doing a follow-up single to Bloke called Mullet Head, which is a parody of their song Give Me Head. They had us live in the studio doing it, which was a lot of fun. And the footy show had us out for the day and filmed a film clip without the Radiators for the song, and they had that song on as well. So,
okay.
Even with both footy shows pushing it, it never went any good. So that's when I started to think I can't sing.
Ken Wright, though.
On that too.
Fair enough. Ken Wright, though. What about like a poetry book? Chris Franklin's poetry book.
Nah. Should I have one of those old-fashioned pipes in my mouth as well?
Please, perfect. So how old? Go on, Jack.
Sorry. Talking about sport and obviously stuff that you can go and see and do, mate. If Chris has got a spare Saturday night and there's heaps of stuff on around town, what are you doing? Where are you going? What are you watching? What are you doing with yourself?
Saturday night, I'd probably stay at home and put KO on and just flick between the rugby league and the AFL.
Yep.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
I much prefer to just sit at home and have a beer with the missus now than get out to the club. So, like I said, 58 and 3 in the morning, then some bloke just says, "Oh, you're that guy that sings Bloke," and then all of a sudden there's 20-year-olds wanting to get a photo with you and annoying the shit out of you. I'm just happy to sit at home. And
How,
I go to enough pubs when I'm at work anyway.
Yeah. Well, when you're working them half the time, mate, I guess that's a benefit, right?
I've spent the last 31 days in this pub. I'm still in it now. I'm in the room upstairs in the pub doing this podcast. So, yeah.
All right. Well, sounds like you got an experience in licensed establishments, mate. Where's the best pub feed in Australia?
The best pub scene
or feed? Where do you get the best pub feed in your experience?
Feed. Okay. Yeah. I'm going back to Lonnie for a moment. I would have to say the Old Tudor's got a good feed in Launceston, the Old Tudor Hotel. In Melbourne here, the Elephant and Wheelbarrow on Burke Street does a good feed. I'm trying to think of other pubs in other cities. The Rising Sun, the Sun Hotel in Townsville, that does a good feed.
Yeah.
Trying to get around the country. Nowhere in Sydney does a good feed.
That's fair.
and it's $87 a beer there. So
no one wants to live there anyway, mate. They're all moving away from it.
I reckon I'm struggling to think of one in Adelaide. The pubs, there's a lot of good pubs in Adelaide, but not one that I had a feed at. WA, the old Swing and Pig, the Rockingham Hotel.
Yeah, okay. There you go, folks. Chris Franklin's pub feed index.
We'll do up a list. We'll do a post. 100%. When was and I apologise, I imagine this will be the 3,000th time you've been asked this in the last 24 months, mate. But what age were you when you sported your first mullet?
All through my high school photos, I had the mullet. Yeah, but 1980, I joined the Navy and they wouldn't let me keep it. So for 8.5 years there, I had the short back and sides. But as soon as I was out, she was back there. Like, grew itself. I didn't have to do anything. And I've had it off once since then. So since '89, I had it off probably 5 years ago. I shaved my head and raised 10 grand for cancer, and it just came back again. I think it'll be here forever. My old man died of leukemia after he fought it for 4 years back in '87, and after 4 years of chemotherapy, he died with a full head of hair. So I think I'm going to be pretty right for a while.
Yeah, nice, mate. Nice. Mate, when are you in Melbourne next? Because I want to get a bit of a crew and come down to one of your live shows. I know you sort of finish up there at the moment.
You wait till I've done 64 shows in the last 31 days. And then you go, when's your next show in Melbourne?
Yeah,
I've got nothing booked. I'm relaxing here for a few days, and then I'm off to WA and then home. I've got
nice.
Nothing booked in Melbourne now because I've been here for the last month.
Yeah, fair enough, mate. Timing is one of my specialties.
Do you ever get up to Queensland at all, Chris?
Yeah. I've got a few shows coming up in Queensland later in the year. I couldn't give you exact dates, but they're fairly sporadic. I've got grandkids on the sunny coast, so I if I haven't seen them for a while, I'll just organise gigs in that area, and someone will fly me up to see my grandkids. That's the plan.
Perfect. Yeah, mate. No, that might be logistical because Nathan and I are both based out of Brisbane, so we'd love to
nice.
come.
I've got some regional stuff coming up. Oh, I can't remember. June, July.
Yep.
I know the 9th of July I'm in Casino just over the border.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but I can't remember the other dates, but there's a few Queensland dates coming up.
Yeah. Yeah, nice. Mate, what have we sort of missed tonight? Is there anything you want to sort of put a spotlight? Actually, I know one. Ladies and gents, cast your eyes over this bloody beautiful thing here. Do yourselves a favour. Do yourselves a favour and jump onto his site. You can pick up one of these specialties. There's packs there. It's all sorts. I would probably order a size up. I'm not the biggest bloke in the world, and it's skin tight on me. But quality, mate. I love this. Straight to the pool room.
Beautiful. Thanks, mate. Yeah, they were all just on the back of the Stay the Fuck at Home song. So everyone's been saying in the 2 years since then, I should rewrite it and say, get the fuck out and start supporting businesses again.
Why
Everyone
not?
says he's going to sing "Stay the fuck at home" in your shows. I'm going, why the fuck would I be on stage telling everyone to stay the fuck at home when I want them to come to shows?
Yeah. Well, there we go. Have the double dip there. Have you? How much merch have you sort of? Has that sort of always been a thing? Can people buy stuff at your shows?
I've generally got stubby holders, although I've sold out now. They've got the VB logo on them, but they say Very Bogan instead of Victoria Bitter. They got my head on the back of them, and they say Chris Franklin, I love drinking. I had DVDs of my live show back when DVDs were a thing. But yeah, I've found there's not too many people that have got a DVD player at home now. So
no.
I've got boxes of them at home, so I'm going to start selling them as drink coasters. Yeah, I had T-shirts and blue singlets over the years. I sold a bloke aftershave once. It was in a tiny little VB stubby before VB brought out that Thirst stuff.
So what does a bloke cologne smell like, Chris?
It was in a stubby.
I'd love to have a sample of that just quietly.
It was sense of, I can remember specifically, sense of sandalwood, kerosene, and Aerogard.
That's beautiful. That is beautiful.
Brilliant.
We had a go at a mullet shampoo for a while, but that never took off.
I think the timing was off there a bit, Chris, because you got all these bloody beard oils and all sorts these days. So
yeah.
What actually goes into sort of developing a product like an aftershave or a shampoo?
The aftershave, the bloke approached me and said, I think this scent would be perfect for what you do. It matches you. And I went, I'll have a sniff. And I smelled it and went, yeah, I'd wear it as an aftershave. So fair enough. So that was all him. The shampoo, we just thought of a funny label for a shampoo bottle with my head on it, and then thought we'd just buy some cheap shampoo in bulk and pour it into the little bottles.
Brilliant. Mate, no stone unturned.
Who's one of the best live shows you've been to, mate?
Ooh. Once again, music or comedy?
Let's do both.
Okay. This is going to be really weird coming from me, but musically it'd have to be a tie between AC/DC in their prime and Robbie Williams.
Yeah, right.
Both really good.
Robbie.
Yeah, great stage productions, basically. Yeah.
Yep.
Comedy. Ross Noble's always out there. You never know what you're going to get with Ross, so that's always a lot of fun. Jimmy Jeffries goes okay. They'd be the two for comedy, I reckon.
Where did you see? Go on, Jake.
What's it like? Just touching on guys like Jim Jeffries and that now, Chris. What's it like sort of seeing guys from the Australian scene starting to blow up on an international sort of spectrum, and becoming these big guys that are starting to pop up on places like Netflix and all of these streaming services with their specials and that now? What's that sort of like? Sort of witnessing that happening.
I feel a little bit proud. I'm happy for him. Jimmy used to open for me here in Australia, and he's just blown up. He's worked many years to all of a sudden be big, But he came out to Australia with his full American entourage and at one of the festivals a few years back, and we caught up at the festival club, and these Americans, I'm in a blue singlet and a flannel tied around my waist and thongs, and these American executives are going, why are you talking to that bloke? And Jim jumped on my defence and said, I used to open for him. He's one of the best around in this country. Back off, boys. And so it was good for him to remember that and not be the arrogant prick that some people can be,
Yeah.
He remembered where he come from. People like Ronnie Chang, who's now, he did the last Marvel movie, that Golden Ring Marvel. He played the main character's best friend, and he was a Melbourne open mic comic.
Yeah,
and
right.
Still calls me Mr. Franklin.
Mr. Franklin.
So, awesome. And he's done the Jon Stewart show in America, had a regular spot on there, and now he's selling theatres in America. I'm still.
Yeah.
Thank you for giving me those spots, Mr. Franklin, back in the day, and all of this. So yeah, they're still very humble and respectful, and I think it's great. You know, I'm never going to get to that level, so someone should.
Yep. You just sort of help them on their way, mate.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's the same with the comics you see on TV. You don't necessarily see the funniest comics around. You'll see people who are popular amongst large numbers and have the right head for television, you know. So I'm quite happy doing a country footy club and people going, oh, you're as funny as those big comedians we see out there. Yeah, I know that, but, you know, I never set any goals right through the whole thing, so anything I do is a bonus. I didn't plan to have a #1 single. I didn't plan to be a comedian, you know. So if you don't set any goals, you can't get disappointed.
Yeah. How do you go through sort of a process of writing jokes and that kind of stuff? Because I know, you know, as most people in the first world sort of do, mate, they listen to these guys like Joe Rogan and you know, Bert Kreischer and Tom Segura, and they always talk about their process and going through and writing and that kind of stuff. Are you a guy that sort of has to sit down and really dedicate a lot of time to it, or are you a guy that just things will pop into your head and you go, oh, that's a good idea, and just scribble it down and come back to it at a later date? What's your sort of process when you're writing new material?
Close to the second option, although I don't scribble it down.
Yeah.
It's a hard one. I worked hard. I got lucky really quickly and won Raw Comedy only 6 months into comedy. I won a national competition and got a trip to Edinburgh, and then everyone wanted me to headline after that, and I'd only had 15 minutes of material. So I worked really hard to get that hour up quickly, and then after I got that hour, I'd sort of just lived off that for a while, and instead of writing new hours, just new jokes come in bits and pieces, and that hour evolves on its own. And a lot of people will sit down, set time aside through the day and be regimented and go, this is my joke writing time or whatever. I just observe the world. If I see something that I think's funny, I'll try and relate that to an audience. If I can't get them to see what I thought was funny in it, I'll try it worded 3 different ways.
Yep.
And if I can't get it right by the 3rd time, I'll just drop it. But generally, in one of those 3 ways, I'll get a laugh out of it, and then I'll work on it from there.
Yeah, okay, so keep it pretty simple.
Yeah, and then there's a lot of camaraderie with the comedians too. Like I might be doing that on stage, testing a joke. And there'll be 2 or 3 comedians backstage. When you come off, they'll go, why don't you try doing this with it? Or, you know, this would be funny if you said that. And they'll all give you a bit of input to help craft it. Yeah,
right. That translates pretty well to sort of, you know, that peer sort of review kind of system. Nathan and I work for a digital marketing company, and obviously we work in the customer facing side, and that's a big thing in even our teams, is sort of just listening to one another and going, oh, I hear you get stuck there, maybe next time you're speaking to someone you explain it this way, and that kind of jazz. So yeah, I think that's important in sort of anything I think you do. Don't be closed off to other people's feedback. And, you know, I think you'll only improve quicker if you listen to the other guys around you. Yeah.
I've noticed that is a marked difference between music and comedy, where musicians are a little bit more cutthroat and how'd he get that gig? I want that gig or whatever, where we'd be a lot more supportive and try and get each other to be the best we can.
Yeah.
If I can't do a gig for whatever reason, I'll suggest 3 great comedians to the people, and, you know, that they'll let those comedians know that I was the one that put them up for it, and they'll ring me and say, thanks for putting me up for this gig or whatever, you know. So, and then it'll happen the other way. They can't do one, and they'll put me up for it. So it all works out.
Yeah.
That's unreal. Mate, have you got a preference out of, obviously Australian comedy is the best, but American comedy versus English comedy can be quite polarizing. Have you got a stance on this age-old question?
Definitely English comedy for me. And not so much because of the English comedy, but because I've travelled a bit, and the countries that the English colonised all have a similar sense of humour. Like Canada being the one I've been to the most, for me, they're just Australians with an American accent.
Yeah.
they've got a completely different sense of humour to the Americans, and it's because they were part of the British colonies. South Africans are very similar to us, the Kiwis, us, you know. So
Yeah.
we've all got that sarcasm and wit where Americans just don't get it. Yeah. It's crazy that they haven't got a word for wanker in a country full of so many of them. I'll definitely, whatever country you put up against America, if they've got a connection to England, I'll pick that country.
Yep.
Well, there we go, Jake. That'll settle the workplace debate, and I win. I think it was.
We'll see, mate. We'll see.
There's so many things like The Office, the TV show The Office. I think although Steve Carell's has become more popular because there's more Americans, I think Ricky Gervais's original version was a better version. What was that other one they did a remake of as well? There's been a few shows where they've started in England, they've done an American remake of them, and the English one was so much better. Can't think of it. It's on Netflix. I can't think of the name of it. But yeah, very good show. It's gone now, but yeah, there was an English version and an American version.
You're banging about The Office, though. I don't even know why that's why people still debate that. It's Ricky's version, hands down. Yeah,
definitely. And without Ricky's version, there wouldn't have been an American version. They can't think of anything themselves.
Be quiet there, Jake. Jake's on the other side of the argument.
Got nothing, then, did we?
I'll be a silent third party here.
No, that's cool. I think that's officially a win there, Jake.
I'll give you that one. Yeah, look, I'll give you that one, mate.
Look, I'm wary of time, mate. I appreciate sparing some for us. I'm going to put a thing on my humble little pages myself about your upcoming tours and stuff as well. I want to get that Chris Franklin's pub feeds recommendations. That's going to be gold. So where can people find you, mate? Where's the best place for people to sort of reach out and get some more of Chris Franklin?
Online, I'm on MySpace. At bloke Franklin on Twitter. Just Chris Franklin on Facebook. I've got a personal page that's Chris Franklin. They only allow 5,000 friends on that, and all the fans have already jumped on there, so I've already got 5,000. But there is a fans page with unlimited, so just look for the Chris Franklin fans page. I think I've got that T-shirt on that you're wearing on the fans one. So the black T-shirt anyway. Look for that, and just follow me on there. That's it. I haven't got Insta or any of those. The kids have got Insta. I just figure they should have somewhere where I'm not keeping an eye on what they're doing, where they can talk about it. So.
Have you got someone that sort of gives you a hand with your social media stuff?
Nah, do it all myself. So if anyone gets on there and they get a reply, it's me you're talking to. So
yeah,
nice.
Jake, you got anything? Any other questions, mate?
I think just one that I'd wrap up, mate. Obviously, you've lived a pretty full and colourful life, and you've touched on a few of your different sort of segments of your life, mate. Being in the Navy, and the music stuff that you did, and then the comedy obviously is the biggest part. What I guess if you had to give someone, whether it's a kid or someone that's trying to work out what they want to do in life, what sort of a piece of advice you'd give to someone, just to sort of wrap us up, mate? That's sort of a Chris Franklin. If they come up and ask you for shit, I don't know what to do, mate. What should I have a look at? Or what's a piece of advice you'd give them to sort of send them on their way?
That's a great question and a hard one to answer. I'd say whatever suits them at the time. Like I all of my life, I felt I was funny, but I've never considered comedy a career. I stumbled into it at 33 and won Raw at 33 with a young 18-year-old South Australian coming second to me. I was a lot older than everyone. Prior to that, I'd had a brick paving business. Prior to that, I was a chef by trade. Prior to that, I was in the Navy. and all of those things were what was right for me at the time. I grew up all through my school years thinking I'm going to follow Dad's footsteps, which was a cook in the Navy, which is what I did. I got out of that. I spent 10 years travelling the country, working as a chef and running kitchens and that, and enjoying it, but then realising it's not what I wanted to do. In Western Australia, I had a Monday and Tuesday off from the kitchen and went labouring for a mate who had a brick paving business. Never went back to the kitchen. I just thoroughly enjoyed being outside and paving, and did that for many years, had my own paving business. Tried to go back to labouring when COVID started just to get some money in, and realised I was 20 years older and I couldn't do it anymore. But it's a bit hard when you hadn't done anything physical for 20 years. But and stumbled into comedy, which is something I'd always enjoyed on television and radio and all that sort of thing, and realised I could do it. So, as I said at the start, if you don't set any goals, you won't be disappointed. Just go with whatever happens.
Yeah, mate.
Chris Wainhouse, Melbourne comedian, has a great joke. He says, they say do what you love and you won't have to work a day in your life. So I know that's true because my brother does heroin and he's never worked a day in his life.
I think that's a good note to end on there, mate. I've had a blast chatting to you. It's a bit of a sort of Aussie icon kind of moment, getting to know you a little bit better and having a yarn, mate. So thank you very much for entertaining Nathan and I for the better part of an hour.
I've had an absolute ball, boys. It's good fun. We should do it again sometime.
100%. And definitely hit us up when you're up in Brisbane, mate. I might tell the missus that I've got a work conference that will take me away for a few days, I think.
Yeah, I might just have to quarantine so I can go on tour.
Good on you, boys.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for joining us, mate. Ladies and gents, do yourself a favour. Jump on all the socials you'll find in there. Chris Franklin, again, mate, thank you very much, and I hope to talk to you soon.
Cheers, fellas.
Thanks, mate. Bye.